She handed her purse to a starving beggar. Not knowing he is a Korean Mafia boss on a secret mission, Kang Tae-sung had played many roles in his 15 years, running the most powerful Korean organized crime family in New York City. Arms dealer, legitimate businessman, philanthropist. Even a priest once for a particularly delicate assassination, but sitting in a urine-soaked doorway in the Bronx, wearing clothes that actually smelled like 3 weeks of street life, covered in makeup that made him look 20 years older and sick. This was new and deeply, profoundly uncomfortable. "Target's moving," crackled the voice in his nearly invisible earpiece. His second-in-command, Lee Dong-wook, watching from a van 2 blocks away. "Chinese courier carrying the ledger in a messenger bag. Should pass your position in 90 seconds. Tae-sung adjusted his position, making sure the hidden camera in his torn jacket had a clear view of the street. This operation had taken 3 months to set up. The Qing Dragon Triad had been cooking their books, skimming from the joint operations they ran with Tae-sung's organization. He needed proof before he could move against them. And the courier carrying that proof walked this route every Thursday at 3 p.m., arrogant enough to believe no one would suspect a routine errand. Tae-sung had learned long ago that people didn't see the homeless. They looked through them, past them, around them, made them perfect camouflage. He'd positioned himself here, in this doorway of an abandoned building, invisible to everyone passing by. The courier appeared, young Chinese man, expensive sneakers, cocky swagger. The messenger bag hung casually from his shoulder. Tae-sung raised his phone, disguised as a broken flip phone from 2005, and started recording. The courier walked past without a glance. Perfect. Tae-sung would follow him for 3 more blocks, confirm the drop location, then extract, "Excuse me, sir?" The voice made him freeze, soft, feminine, with a hint of southern warmth. Tae-sung looked up slowly, careful to maintain his disguise, and his breath caught. She was beautiful, not model beautiful, real beautiful. Brown skin that glowed in the afternoon sun, natural hair pulled back in a ponytail, warm brown eyes full of genuine concern. She wore a diner uniform, pink dress, white apron, name tag that read India, and she was crouching down to his level, meeting his eyes like he was a person, not a problem to step around. "Sir, are you okay? Do you need help?" Her voice was gentle, not pitying, respectful. Tae-sung opened his mouth to send her away. He was working, couldn't break cover, but something in her expression stopped him. When was the last time someone had looked at him with such uncomplicated kindness, without fear or calculation or wanting something? I'm okay, miss," he said, pitching his voice older, rougher. "Just resting. Thank you for asking." "When's the last time you ate?" India asked, still at his level, not towering over him. This morning." A lie. He'd had catered sushi in his penthouse office at noon. India frowned, then did something that made Tae-sung's carefully constructed disguise nearly crumble. She reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a small purse. Worn fabric, probably secondhand, held together with safety pins. She opened it, and Tae-sung saw everything. 3 $20 bills, handful of ones, some coins, maybe $80 total. Not much money, for someone who looked like she worked at a diner in the Bronx. Probably close to everything she had until payday, and she was giving it to him. "Here," India said, pressing the entire purse into his hands. "Take this. There's enough for food and maybe a night somewhere safe. There's a shelter on 167th Street, St. Mary's. They're good people. They'll help you." Tae-sung stared at the purse in his hands, mind reeling. In his earpiece, Dong-wook was hissing, "Boss, the courier's getting away. What are you doing?" "Miss, I can't take your money." "Yes, you can, please." India's smile was sunshine breaking through clouds. "I had a brother who lived on the streets for a while. Mental health issues. People weren't kind to him. So now when I can help, I do." She squeezed his hand gently. "You matter, okay? Don't forget that." She stood, brushing off her uniform, and walked away before Tae-sung could respond. He watched her go. This woman who'd just given a complete stranger everything in her purse, and felt something crack open in his chest. Something he'd thought died years ago when he'd taken over the family business and learned that kindness was a weakness. "Boss!" Dong-wook's voice was urgent. "The courier! I saw him. Got the footage." Tae-sung stood slowly, India's purse clutched in his hand like a sacred object. Pull the team. We're done for today. We are, but we haven't confirmed the drop. I said we're done. Tae Sung's voice had shifted back to its normal register. Command, not request. And Dong Wook? Find out everything about the woman who just walked away. The one in the diner uniform. I want to know her name, where she works, where she lives, everything. Boss, are you? Do it, now. Tae Sung looked down at the purse in his hands, at the money this woman had given without hesitation, without judgment, without knowing she'd just handed her rent money to a man who could buy her entire building without noticing the expense. And he made a decision that would change everything. He was going to find her, return her money, and figure out why a random act of kindness had shaken him more than 15 years of violence, betrayal, and blood. India Washington hummed as she walked back to Lou's diner, already doing math in her head. She'd given away $83, basically her entire tip money from the lunch rush, which meant she'd be short on rent again. Mrs. Chen, her landlord, would not be happy. Maybe she could pick up an extra shift, work Sunday brunch. You did it again, didn't you? Her co-worker and best friend Shanice looked up from refilling ketchup bottles as India walked in. You gave money to another homeless person. He looks so lost, Shanice. And cold. It's October, getting chilly at night. India, baby, I love your heart. But you can't save everyone. Not when you can barely save yourself. Shanice gestured at the diner around them. Shabby booths, cracked vinyl, fluorescent lights that flickered. We make minimum wage plus tips. You're already working 60 hours a week to afford that shoebox apartment. I know. India tied her apron back on. But Shanice, what's the point of having anything if you don't help people who need it more? The point is keeping a roof over your head, Shanice softened. I get it. Your brother. Deshaun needed help, and nobody gave it. Nobody even saw him. India's voice cracked slightly. And then he was gone. Overdose in an alley, alone, because society treated him like garbage. Shanice pulled her into a hug. I know, honey, I know. Just promise me you'll be more careful. There are bad people out there who take advantage of good hearts. I promise. India pulled back, wiping her eyes. Now come on. Evening rush starts in 30 minutes, and Lou's already giving me the evil eye for being late. They work through the dinner rush, India's usual controlled chaos of orders and tables and customers who range from sweet regulars to handsy creeps to tourists who got lost looking for authentic New York. She smiled through all of it, pocketed her tips, and tried not to calculate how short she'd be on rent. At 11 p.m., her shift ended. India said goodbye to Shanice, grabbed her coat, thin denim, would need to find something warmer soon, and headed out the back door into the alley. A man stood there leaning against a sleek black car that absolutely did not belong in this neighborhood. He was tall, Korean, devastatingly handsome in an expensive suit, with dark eyes that seemed to look straight through her. Nothing like the homeless man she'd helped earlier, but something about his posture, the way he held himself. Hello, India, he said, voice smooth and deep. Fear spiked through her. How do you know my name? You gave it to me this afternoon, along with everything you had in your purse. He pushed off the car and India saw it then. This was the same man, cleaned up, transformed, but the same. Those eyes were unmistakable. You lied to me, hurt mixed with her fear. You're not homeless. No, I was undercover, working. He took a step closer and India stepped back. He stopped immediately, hands raised. I'm not going to hurt you. I came to return this. He held out her purse, but it was heavier now, bulging. India took it carefully, opened it, and gasped. Her $83 was there, along with what looked like several $1,000s more, all hundreds, neatly stacked. What is this? I can't. You can, and you will. His voice was firm. You gave everything you had to a stranger. That kind of goodness deserves to be rewarded. But this is too much. This is like $5,000? $10,000, plus your original 83. He said it like it was nothing, like $10,000 was pocket change. India's hands shook as she tried to hand it back. I can't accept this. I don't even know who you are. And if you're not homeless, then what were you doing in that doorway? What kind of work requires pretending to be homeless? The kind I can't discuss. His expression was unreadable. But India, I'm not asking you to understand or trust me. I'm asking you to take the money. Pay your rent, buy a warm coat, help your family, whatever you need. Why? Why do you care? Something shifted in his eyes, something vulnerable. Because in 15 years of living in darkness, you're the first person who looked at me, really looked at me, and saw something worth saving. Even when I was disguised as society's throwaway, you treated me with dignity. His voice dropped. I want to know more about the kind of woman who does that. India's heart pounded. This was insane. This man was clearly wealthy, clearly powerful, clearly involved in something he couldn't or wouldn't explain. Every rational instinct said to walk away. What's your name? She found herself asking instead. Kang Tae-sung. And what do you do, Kang Tae-sung? Really? I run a family business. Import-export. Various investments. The polished half-truth of someone practiced at evasion. You're lying again. His eyebrows rose. What makes you say that? Because people who run normal businesses don't need to go undercover as homeless people. And they don't show up in alleys at 11 p.m. with $10,000 in cash. India crossed her arms. I'm not stupid, Mr. Kang. Whatever you're into, it's not legal. A slow smile spread across his face, transforming him from intimidating to almost boyish. You're very perceptive. So what are you? Drug dealer? Gang member? Mob boss? The last one. Close enough. He said it casually, watching her reaction. India should have run, should have screamed, should have done anything except stand there, looking at this beautiful, dangerous man who just admitted to being a criminal and ask, why are you telling me this? Because you asked for truth, and I'm finding I don't want to lie to you. Tae-sung stepped closer again, slower this time, giving her room to retreat. She didn't. India, I came here tonight planning to return your money and disappear. But then I saw you walk out of that diner, exhausted from working a long shift, probably going home to worry about bills and rent, and I realized something. What? That I want to know you, really know you. Not as a mark or an asset or leverage, I have plenty of that. As a person, the woman who gave everything to a stranger without hesitation. His eyes held hers. Have dinner with me. You're asking me on a date. Yes. You're a mob boss asking a waitress on a date. When you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous. That almost smile again. But yes. India looked at him, really looked, saw past the expensive suit and dangerous confession to the man underneath. The one who'd sat in a filthy doorway for a mission, who'd been moved by a stranger's kindness, who'd sought her out, returned her money with interest, and asked for nothing but her time. One dinner, she heard herself say, somewhere public, and you tell me the truth about who you are and what you do. All of it. Then I decide if this is too crazy to continue. Deal. Tae-sung's smile was brilliant. Tomorrow night, I'll pick you up. No, I'll meet you. Text me the address. India pulled out her phone, ancient smartphone with a cracked screen. What's your number? They exchanged numbers like normal people. Like this was a normal situation. Like she hadn't just agreed to have dinner with a self-proclaimed mob boss. Tae-sung opened his car door, then paused. India, thank you. For this afternoon, for seeing me. It meant more than you know. He drove away in his expensive car, and India stood in the alley, clutching a purse with $10,000, wondering what the hell she'd just gotten herself into. You did what? Shanice's voice was so loud that other diner patrons turned to stare. India shushed her frantically. Keep your voice down. Girl, you accepted $10,000 from a strange man who admits he's in the mob, and then agreed to go on a date with him? Shanice's eyes were wide with disbelief. India, what happened to, I promise I'll be more careful. That was literally 12 hours ago. I know it sounds insane. It is insane. Beyond insane. This is some Lifetime movie, attractive woman found in dumpster level of insanity. India bit her lip. But Shanice, you didn't see him. The way he looked at me. Like I mattered. Like I was special. Nobody's ever looked at me like that. Honey, serial killers look at people like they're special right before they murder them. Shanice grabbed India's hands across the table. Look, I love that you see the good in everyone. But this man is dangerous. He admitted it. He could hurt you, use you, or worse. I know. But what if he's not? What if he's just complicated? Complicated is being an artist, or having commitment issues, not running a criminal organization. Shanice sighed. At least promise me you'll text me every 30 minutes during this date, and I'm tracking your location. And if you're not back by midnight, I'm calling the police. Deal. India squeezed her hands. And Shanice? I paid Mrs. Chen the rent I owe, plus next month, and I bought Deshawn's grave a new headstone. The one with the angel he would have liked. There's still money left over. Shanice's expression softened. Oh, India. Whatever else he is, Tae-sung gave me the chance to honor my brother properly. That has to mean something, right? Maybe, or maybe he's just good at buying loyalty. But Shanice's voice had lost its edge. Just be careful, please. I will, I promise. The restaurant Tai-sung chose was in Midtown, the kind of place India had walked past 1,000 times but never imagined entering. Doorman, valet parking, women in gowns and men in suits. She'd worn her best dress, a simple navy number from Target that her grandmother had bought her for church, and felt completely out of place. But then Tai-sung was there, taking her hand, looking at her like she was the most beautiful woman in the room. You look stunning, he said, and somehow made her believe it. Inside, they were led to a private room, intimate, elegant, overlooking the Manhattan skyline. Tae-sung ordered in rapid Korean, then turned his attention to India with laser focus. You're nervous, he observed. I've never been somewhere this fancy. Pretty sure the fork placement costs more than my weekly paycheck. It's just a room, just food, and just us. His smile was gentle. Tell me about yourself. Real things, not small talk. So India did. Told him about growing up in Georgia, her grandmother who raised her after her mother died of cancer, moving to New York for college and dropping out when money ran out. About Deshawn's schizophrenia diagnosis, his slow descent into homelessness, her helplessness watching him slip away. About working at the diner for 8 years, trying to save enough to go back to school, to do something more with her life. Tae-sung listened without interrupting, eyes never leaving her face. And when she finished, he asked, what would you study if you could go back? Social work. I want to help people like Deshawn, people the system fails. India looked down at her hands. I know it sounds naive. It sounds beautiful. Tae-sung reached across the table, taking her hand. And possible. That money I gave you, it's enough for a semester at least. Maybe 2. I can't use your money for school. Why not? You gave me your money without hesitation. Why can't I do the same? Because you're, she gestured vaguely, you, a criminal. That money probably came from something illegal. It came from real estate investments, actually. But yes, my organization does illegal things. Tae-sung leaned back. You wanted truth, so here it is. I run the Kang family, Korean organized crime in New York. We control territory, run businesses both legal and not. And yes, sometimes we hurt people who threaten what's ours. India's heart pounded. Have you killed anyone? Yes. The single word hung between them. No justification, no excuses, just brutal honesty. Why are you telling me this? Most men on first dates don't lead with I'm a murderer. Because you asked for truth, and I'm giving it to you. All of it. Tae-sung's eyes were intense. India, I could lie. Tell you I'm a businessman with questionable associates. Let you believe I'm just wealthy and connected. But you deserve to know exactly who you're sitting with. And who is that? A man raised in violence, trained from childhood to take over a criminal empire. Someone who's done terrible things for what he believed were good reasons. His voice dropped. And someone who hasn't felt anything real in years, until a stranger in a diner uniform gave him everything she had and reminded him that goodness still exists. India should have walked out, should have reported him, should have run far and fast. Instead, she asked, what happens now? If I stay, if I want to see you again, then you see the real me. Not just the dangerous parts, but all of it, and I see the real you. And we figure out if this impossible thing between us could actually work. This is insane. Completely. I don't even know you. Then let me change that. Tae-sung stood, offering his hand. Come with me. They left the restaurant, Tai Sung leaving cash that made India's eyes bulge, and walked through Manhattan. He showed her his world, the legitimate businesses he owned, restaurants, real estate, import companies, the community centers he funded anonymously, the scholarships for Korean immigrant children. This is what most people don't see, Tai Sung explained as they stood outside a youth center in Koreatown. Yes, my family does illegal things, but we also protect our community, help people who fall through the cracks. The police don't care about Korean immigrants. The government barely acknowledges we exist, so we take care of our own. Like a parallel system. Exactly. He looked down at her. I'm not asking you to approve of everything I do, but I want you to understand why I do it. They walked to Central Park, found a bench overlooking the lake, talked until 2 a.m. Tae Sung told her about his childhood in Seoul, immigrating at 8, watching his father build an empire through ruthlessness and determination. His mother's death from cancer when he was 15, taking over the family business at 23 when his father was killed by a rival gang. I never wanted this life, he admitted. I wanted to be normal, go to college, maybe become a teacher, but duty demanded otherwise. Do you regret it? Every day, and never. He turned to face her. It's complicated. I've done good and terrible things, often simultaneously. I'm not a good man, India, but I try to be better than my father was. Does that count for anything? India thought about Deshaun, about how the system had failed him, about all the people who needed help and never got it because they fell through the cracks Tae Sung talked about. Yes, she said finally, it counts. Maybe not for everything, but for something. Tae Sung smiled, real and grateful and almost shy. Can I see you again? Yes, but slow. We take this slow as you need. He drove her home, walked her to her building, pausing when he saw the neighborhood, the graffiti, the broken security door. India, this isn't safe. It's what I can afford. Let me. No, she cut him off. I appreciate everything you've done. The money, the dinner, the honesty, but I'm not moving into some fancy apartment you pay for. That's not who I am. At least let me arrange security, someone to watch the building. Tae Sung. India cupped his face gently. I said slow. That means no bodyguards, no fancy apartments, no big gestures, just us, getting to know each other, like normal people. He leaned into her touch. I don't know how to be normal. Then we'll figure it out together. He kissed her then, soft, tentative, asking permission with every movement. India kissed him back, tasting possibility and danger, and something that felt dangerously close to hope. The next 3 months were the strangest of India's life. She continued working at the diner, living in her crappy apartment, maintaining her routine. But now Tae Sung was woven through it. He'd show up at the diner for coffee, tip her $100 bills she'd immediately try to return. Take her to hole-in-the-wall restaurants in Koreatown, teaching her about Korean food and culture. Walk her home every night, no matter how late his business ran. He kept his promise about honesty, told her when he had to handle family business, though he spared her details. Let her see the weight he carried, the constant pressure of leading an organization where one wrong move could mean death. And slowly, India saw past the dangerous mob boss to the man underneath. Funny, thoughtful, surprisingly gentle. But reality intruded in small ways, like the night she met him at his penthouse and found blood on his shirt. It's not mine, he'd said quickly, but wouldn't elaborate. Or the time his phone rang during dinner and his entire demeanor changed. Cold, commanding, ruthless. The voice of someone who ordered violence like other people ordered takeout. Does it bother you? He asked one night after a particularly tense call. Knowing what I do? India considered carefully. Yes, but not the way you think. It bothers me that you're in danger, that people want to hurt you, that you carry so much weight alone. I'm not alone anymore. He pulled her close. I have you. Do you? India looked up at him. Because Tae Sung, we're dating, but I don't really know your world. I see pieces, but not the whole picture. And I'm starting to realize that's intentional. You're protecting me from something. I'm protecting you from everything, he said fiercely. My world is violence and betrayal and constant threat. I won't expose you to that. Then where does this go? We keep dating in this bubble where I pretend you're normal and you pretend I'm not getting deeper into something I don't understand? Tae-sung released her, running a hand through his hair. I don't know. I've never done this before. Never cared about someone outside the organization. Maybe that's the problem. India's voice was gentle. You can't keep me in a separate box, Tae-sung. If this is real, if we're really building something, I need to see all of you. Even the scary parts. And if the scary parts are too much, if you see who I really am and run, then I run, but at least I'll have seen the truth. She took his hands. I'm not asking to be part of your organization, but I am asking to understand it, to know what you're dealing with, to be someone you can actually talk to instead of just another thing to protect. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, but India, once you see this, you can't unsee it. Are you sure? I'm sure. The next week, Tae-sung brought her to a meeting. Not in the penthouse, but in a private room at one of his restaurants. 6 men sat around a table. Korean, various ages, all watching India with expressions ranging from curious to hostile. Gentlemen, Tae-sung said, hand on India's back, this is India Washington. She's important to me, which means she's under our protection. Anyone who touches her answers to me personally. One of the older men, silver-haired, scar across his cheek, spoke in Korean. India caught Tae-sung's tone shift as he responded, authority crackling through every word. The older man nodded grudgingly. Lee Dong-wook, my second in command, Tae-sung introduced, gesturing to a lean man in his 30s. He has concerns about security implications of our relationship. With respect, boss, Dong-wook said in accented English, eyes on India. Your personal life is your business. But dating an outsider, especially someone with no understanding of our world, creates vulnerabilities. What if she's questioned? What if rivals use her to get to you? Then we ensure that doesn't happen. Tae-sung's voice was steel. India stays out of operational details, but she understands the basics of what we do and why. That's non-negotiable. They spent the next hour discussing business, protection rackets, territory disputes with a Chinese gang moving into Queens, shipments of goods India suspected weren't entirely legal. Tae-sung didn't hide anything, didn't soften the reality, and India listened, trying not to let shock show on her face. These men discussed violence like she discussed menu specials, casually, practically. Someone needed to be handled. A rival needed to be sent a message. Territory needed to be secured. Euphemisms for assault, intimidation, maybe murder. When the meeting ended, Tae-sung walked India out to his car. She was quiet, processing. He didn't push, just drove her home in silence. At her building, she finally spoke. That man with the scar, he suggested killing someone, and everyone just nodded like he'd suggested ordering pizza. Yes. Does that happen often, the killing? Not as often as movies suggest. Violence is expensive and draws attention. But sometimes, he met her eyes. Yes. Sometimes it's necessary. How do you live with that? By remembering that the people I hurt would hurt my family, my community, innocent people if I didn't stop them. Tae-sung's jaw tightened. By knowing that every terrible choice I make prevents something worse. It's not clean or pretty or morally simple, but it's the reality of my world. India nodded slowly. Okay. Okay? Okay, I understand. I don't like it. Part of me hates it, but I understand. She took his hand. Thank you for showing me, for trusting me with the truth. Relief flooded Tae-sung's features. You're not running. Not yet. She managed a smile. But Tae-sung, if we're doing this, really doing this, I need something from you. Anything. Find ways to do less harm. I know you can't just walk away from the family business, but find ways to protect people without violence, to build instead of destroy. Can you do that? I can try. He pulled her into his arms. For you, I'll try. 6 months into their relationship, everything changed. India was closing the diner late. Shanice had left early for a family emergency. When 3 men walked in, Chinese, expensive suits, cold eyes that made her skin crawl. We're closed, India said, fighting to keep her voice steady. We're not here for food. The tallest one, tattoos visible on his neck, approached the counter. We're here about your boyfriend. Ice flooded India's veins. I don't know what you're talking about. Kang Tae-sung, head of the Korean mob. Your boyfriend. Tattoo Neck smiled without warmth. Don't play stupid. We've been watching you for weeks. What do you want? A message delivered. Tell Kang that the Dragon's Head Triad is taking over his territory in Queens. He can step aside peacefully, or we'll make him step aside. The man leaned forward. And tell him that his pretty little girlfriend is fair game now. We know where you live, where you work, your schedule, everything. Fear turned to fury. India grabbed the coffee pot, still half full of hot coffee, and threw it in Tattoo Neck's face. He screamed, stumbling back, and India ran for the kitchen, hitting the panic button Tae-sung had installed last month over her protests. The other two men came after her. She grabbed a knife, brandishing it with shaking hands. Get back! They laughed, advancing slowly. One pulled a gun. Little girl, you really think? The front door exploded inward. Tae-sung's people flooded in, 6 men moving with military precision, guns drawn. Within seconds, the Chinese gangsters were on the ground, disarmed, bleeding. And then Tae-sung was there, pulling India into his arms while his men secured the threats. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? I'm okay, just scared. India was shaking now, adrenaline fading. They said I was fair game. Something terrifying crossed Tae-sung's face. He turned to the men on the ground, switching to rapid Korean that sounded like barely controlled fury. Dong-wook responded, and whatever he said made Tae-sung's expression turn arctic. India, go with Dong-wook, Tae-sung said, voice deadly calm. He'll take you somewhere safe. What are you going to do? What I should have done weeks ago, end this. Tae-sung, please. He cupped her face. Let me protect you. Let me handle this. India nodded, letting Dong-wook lead her outside to a waiting car. As they drove away, she looked back and saw Tae-sung standing over the men who'd threatened her, and she knew, whatever he was about to do, it would be brutal. She was taken to Tae-sung's penthouse, where 2 guards stationed themselves outside, and one, a woman named Ji-eun, stayed with her. Mr. Kang will be here as soon as he's finished, Ji-eun said, setting up in the living room with professional efficiency. Finished. Such a polite word for violence. India tried to watch TV, couldn't focus. Tried to read, couldn't see the words. Ended up pacing, checking her phone every 30 seconds, jumping at every sound. It was 3 a.m. when the door finally opened and Tae-sung walked in. He looked exhausted. Blood on his shirt, whose India didn't want to know, but alive, whole, safe. She ran to him, and he caught her, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. It's over, he murmured into her hair. The Dragon's Head leadership has been handled. They won't threaten you again. No one will. What did you do? What I had to. He pulled back, eyes haunted. India, I'm sorry. I tried to keep you separate from this, but I know. It's not your fault. She led him to the bathroom, helped him strip off the bloody shirt, cleaned cuts she found on his hands. Neither spoke. The ritual intimate and somber. In bed, Tae-sung held her like she might disappear. I can't lose you, he whispered. These past 6 months, you've given me something I never thought I'd have. Hope, normalcy, a reason to want to be better. You're not going to lose me. India, I've made enemies, powerful ones, and now they know about you. They'll always try to use you against me. The only way to keep you truly safe is, don't. She covered his mouth with her hand. Don't you dare say we should break up. I'm not running because things got dangerous. I knew what I was getting into. Did you? Because I don't think either of us realized how deep this would go. India shifted to face him fully. Tae-sung, I love you. I know I haven't said it before, but I do. I love your strength and your vulnerability and the way you're trying to be better despite everything. And yes, tonight was terrifying, but it doesn't change how I feel. His eyes widened. You love me. Is that so surprising? Yes. I'm a criminal, a killer, someone who brings danger into your life. You're also the man who remembered I like sunflowers, who listens when I talk about my brother, who's funding scholarships for immigrant kids because he remembers being one. India's voice was fierce. You're complicated and dangerous and wonderful, and I love you, all of you. Tae-sung kissed her then, desperate and grateful and full of emotions he couldn't voice. When they made love, it was different, slower, deeper, weighted with the knowledge that they'd crossed a threshold. This wasn't just dating anymore. This was something permanent. Marry me. India's eyes flew open. They were having breakfast. Tae-sung cooking Korean pancakes while she perched on the counter. When he just said it. What? Marry me. He set down the spatula, turning to face her fully. I know it's fast. I know your friend Shanice will think I'm insane. But India, I've spent 15 years alone in this life, and then you walked into it and changed everything. I want to wake up next to you every day. Want to build something real with you. Want to prove that even someone like me can have something good. Tae-sung, we've been dating for 6 months. I know, and if you need more time, I'll wait. But India, in my world, tomorrow isn't guaranteed. I could die in a gang war, get arrested, disappear. His hands framed her face. So I'm not waiting to tell you what I want. I want you, forever, if you'll have me. India should have said no, should have insisted they wait, be practical, think things through. Instead, she heard herself ask, what would that look like? Me marrying you? You'd be under my protection officially. No one would dare touch you. You could finish school. I'll pay for it. No arguments. Open that community center you talk about. Live the life you want while I handle the ugly parts. His thumb brushed her cheek. And at night, you come home to me. We build something normal in the middle of all this chaos. And when the violence comes, when people try to hurt me to get to you, then I burn the world down to protect you, every single time. India looked into his eyes and saw the truth. This man would kill for her, die for her, move heaven and earth to keep her safe. It was intense and overwhelming and absolutely terrifying. It was also the most love she'd ever felt in her life. Okay, 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 I'll marry you. You absolute maniac. I'll marry you. His smile could have lit up the entire city. He pulled her off the counter, spinning her around, laughing like a kid. Really? You're serious? I'm insane, but yes, I'm serious. India kissed him. But Tae-sung, I have conditions. Name them. I keep working until I start school. I'm not sitting around being a mob wife. I need purpose. Agreed. My friend Shanice is maid of honor. Non-negotiable. Done. And you have to meet my grandmother. India's voice softened. She's in a nursing home in Georgia. Alzheimer's. She won't remember meeting you, but it matters to me. Then we'll go tomorrow if you want. Tae-sung set her down gently. India, I don't care what conditions you have. I'm just grateful you said yes. They were married 3 months later in a small ceremony that somehow managed to blend Korean tradition with India's Southern Baptist roots. Shanice cried through the entire thing. Tae-sung's organization showed up in force, dangerous men in expensive suits, treating India with respect that bordered on reverence because she was their boss's wife. And India's grandmother, in a rare moment of clarity, took Tae-sung's hand and said, you take care of my girl. She's got a good heart. Don't let this world ruin that. Tae-sung had promised, voice thick with emotion. The first year of marriage was an adjustment. India started school, studying social work like she'd always dreamed. Tae-sung shifted his operations, trying to minimize violence, building legitimate businesses to eventually transition the family away from crime. There were hard moments, like when India came home to find Tae-sung with blood on his hands again, eyes empty in a way that scared her. Or when she was followed by a rival gang, resulting in a car chase that ended with gunfire, and India understanding viscerally what being married to a mob boss meant. But there were beautiful moments too. Tae-sung showing up at her school between classes with her favorite coffee. India teaching him to cook soul food, laughing as he struggled with fried chicken. Quiet evenings where they just existed together, finding peace in the middle of chaos. 2 years after that first meeting in the doorway, India graduated with honors. Tae-sung cried at her ceremony, actual tears streaming down his face, while his entire organization attended, these dangerous men applauding like proud relatives. I'm so fucking proud of you, he said afterward, holding her diploma like it was made of gold. Look at this. You did it. We did it, India corrected. You made it possible. No, you made it possible. Your strength, your determination, your refusal to let circumstances define you. He kissed her softly. You're remarkable, India Kang. India Kang. She still wasn't used to her married name. The wife of New York's most powerful Korean mob boss, who'd started as a waitress who gave a stranger her purse. She opened her community center a year later, the Deshaun Washington Center for At-Risk Youth, named for her brother. Funded by Tae-sung's resources but run by India's vision. It provided mental health services, job training, safe housing, everything she'd wished existed when Deshaun needed help. At the opening ceremony, India stood with Tae-sung beside her, looking at all the people they could help, and felt her brother's presence. Like he was smiling, proud, grateful his death had led to something meaningful. He'd be happy about this, Tae-sung said softly, like he'd read her thoughts. You turned tragedy into hope. That's extraordinary. I had help, from a man who was pretending to be homeless in a doorway. India leaned into him. Best mission you ever went on? The only one that mattered. He kissed her temple. Everything else was just surviving. You taught me to live. 5 years after that first meeting, India sat in the center's office, reviewing case files. A knock on the door made her look up. A young Korean woman stood there, maybe 19, dressed in worn clothes, eyes haunted. Can I help you? India asked gently. I heard this place helps people. People who fall through the cracks. The girl's voice was so quiet, India barely heard it. I don't have anywhere else to go. India stood, moving around the desk. You came to the right place. What's your name? Mia. Mia, I'm India. And yes, we help people. That's what we're here for. She guided the girl to a chair. Tell me what's going on. As Mia shared her story, trafficking victim, escaped, nowhere to go, family back in Korea, India felt that same pull she'd felt in the doorway 5 years ago. The instinct to help, to protect, to see the person everyone else overlooked. She called Tae-sung. He arrived within 20 minutes, took one look at Mia, and nodded. We'll handle it. Get her somewhere safe. Deal with the traffickers, contact her family. Watching him work, making calls, arranging protection, using his dangerous resources for good, India felt overwhelming love. This man who could be so ruthless, choosing compassion. Using power meant for destruction to build and protect instead. That night, lying in bed, India said, Remember when you asked why I helped you that day? In the doorway? You said because of your brother, because you knew what it was like when no one helped. That was part of it. But I think, India traced patterns on his chest. I think part of me saw something in you. Even disguised and broken down, there was something that said you mattered, that you were worth saving. I was worth it because saving me saved hundreds of others. Tae-sung gestured to the world beyond their bedroom. The center, the people we help, the lives we change. None of that happens if you walk past that doorway. No, it happens because you chose to change, to be better. I just gave you a reason to try. You gave me everything. He rolled to face her. A life worth living, a purpose beyond survival. Hope that even someone like me can be good. You are good. You've always been good. You just needed someone to see it. They made love slowly, celebrating the improbable journey from a filthy doorway to this moment. And afterward, India thought about fate, how a random act of kindness had changed 2 lives completely, how giving away her purse had led to finding her purpose, her partner, her everything. I love you, she whispered into the darkness. I love you more, Tae-sung whispered back. Thank you for seeing me, for saving me, for choosing me. Thank you for making me believe in fairy tales again, even complicated, violent, beautiful ones. Outside their window, New York City glittered with possibility, and inside, 2 people from different worlds slept tangled together. Proof that sometimes the best love stories start with the smallest acts of kindness, that sometimes giving everything you have to a stranger is exactly what both of you needed. Because India hadn't just given Tae-sung her purse that day, she'd given him hope, and he'd given her the world.